Okay, and we're back. We're going to have a review tonight of that aforementioned Unraveled IPA. I think it's the first time we've had this beer. We're going to crack it open, pour it into our Cedar Creek Brewery cup tonight, since I have destroyed practically every other beer glass I've gotten for review over the years. I had a comedy of errors a few days ago. I had a glass sitting in my sink. I was going to hand wash it because I've broken quite a few in the dishwasher over the years. And I decided to wing a fork into the sink and destroyed a big cutout of, I forget what brewery it was, but of whatever glass that was. So I'm down to this. I've got an old Ham's goblet and a Tiku from Who Farted. So let's see what's going on with Founder's Juicy India Pale Ale. Nice coloration here, very clear. Little bit of off-white head. Very strong hop presence. Some of the juicy IPAs end up going straight for the juice and drop out essentially anything that it really means to be a India Pale Ale. That is to say, a very hop-forward, bitter, piney sort of flavor to it. But Founders has blended together the kind of West Coast IPA style with the Northeast style, the juicy style that had been all the rage a few years back with, just places up in that Northeast quadrant of the United States. Mouthfeel is very light, somewhat effervescent. You see that there's nothing in the way of lacing, really, to speak of. Not a ton of sweet coming off the end of the mouthfeel. There's a lot of that grain, a lot of the more astringent sides of things that are present as that initial bouquet of flavors starts to dissipate. I'd say that the Unraveled IPA would go really well with strongly flavored cuisine. So if you find yourself some point in the future going out to a buffet, for example, I'd strongly recommend the beer at, I don't know, Indian buffet would be good. Really assertive flavors of a barbecue. This would do well in cutting off a lot of those sweet or smoky elements and allowing for your palate to be refreshed. The one thing that can be said about the Unraveled IPA is that it's really consistent. Sometimes when you notice the more hoppy India Pale Ales, there's a tendency for some of those initial, more strong elements, that bitterness that I mentioned, to drop off with a fairly major degree as the beer starts to reach room temperature. It's only been a few minutes at this point, but there's a cohesion that this brew has that few of the style are really able to reach. As you go on, you might be able to pick this up kind of on the onset, but it becomes a bit more prevalent as you continue with each sip. There's a bit of stone fruit that comes up and it becomes more active. So if you're a fan of apricots, there's a lot of apricot here. There's a bit of lemon that you can pull out. The overall effect of this really is to push up that hoppy side of things, to work in tandem. There's a set of big and bold flavors that really start to bounce off one another. It leads to a beer that's kind of at the same time familiar while striking out for kind of a different overall experience than one might have from this style. I think longtime hopheads will be able to find that they have something they can appreciate in this beer, despite oftentimes decrying the juicy IPA style. The brewery founders has went and tagged this at 50 IBU. And I think they do a lot with that. They keep things very strong and front forward rather than letting some of those juicier elements predominate. Like I mentioned in the first part of the video, anybody that's a fan of India Pale Ales generally, whether it is the more easy to drink session styles of the all day IPA, that one's tagged only about 4.7 ABV, or kind of a more traditional sort of approach with that Centennial IPA, will be able to find something that they can dig here. They'll be able to get a beer that is a style that they like. I feel that somebody is just trying to get into India Pale Ales on the general will be able to get in and taste test a few quite different approaches to the style. One thing that binds them together, of course, is that they are able to hit the high notes of the style, whether it is a eminent assertiveness, a bitterness, a hoppiness, whether it is blended with the kind of more moderate sort of alcohol content to make this more of a lawnmower beer, or at this point, lawn raking beer, or if they're able to go and keep things fresher by incorporating slightly different hop varietals than many breweries attempt to use. When we're looking at purely Unraveled as the beer for review, though, I think I'm going to want to come back to this time and time again. I typically fall more into the darker beers, the stouts, the Belgian strong darks, and I feel that there is enough body, there's enough intensity here to keep me interested from that initial time when I open the beer until I completely drain each 12-ounce can. Founders loading out this 6-pack with the 3 different expressions make sure that people keep interested from the beginning until the end. Furthermore, if you're a novice to the style, having these 3 different approaches will allow you to key in to a greater degree just those hop styles that you like, the hop varietals you like, the approaches that are taken, and maybe you'll be able to expand your horizons based on what one of these you like the most. So dig this up if you can. If you're able to locate this in your local neck of the woods, pick it up. Make sure, though, that you're going to get a fresh version. I have a feeling, as is the case with a lot of IPAs, that something like the Unraveled might have a slightly different flavor profile if you pick it up beyond, I'd say, 3 to 4 months after its canning date. I know people that are drinking beers already know this, but if you are, again, somebody that has not had much of an opportunity, Founders is one of those breweries and make it quite clear when this was actually made. This was canned on September 18th. So as long as you pick this up, probably before 2020 ends, you'll have a nice, fresh time of it. You'll have the best possible expression here. We'll see if this is about the same. Yeah, 9/23/2020 on this one. And for that Unraveled we looked at in this review, 9/4/2020. Now again, that's not the brewery doing that. Some of your local beer stores are a little lax in pulling stuff off of shelves. Sometimes the distributors in your areas do the same thing. I've got a place over here in the Texarkana area called Chubby Cheeks. You really have to go and look and see exactly how old the beers are. I found something that seemed interesting to me that had went and expired in 2017. And unless it's barrel aged, unless it's really high ABV, there's a good chance that that beer would not be very good. For example, I picked up a DNR, which is a really fantastic beer made by Co-op Brewing out of Oklahoma. tasted absolutely turned, tasted absolutely sour because it was over a year old at this point because I didn't check the dates enough. So even something at 10%, a stronger beer, has the opportunity to not have the optimal flavor profiles. To go back here, Unraveled is a great beer in regards to keeping up strong flavors, successfully melding together the traditional IPA style with the juicy IPA style, and is a nice inclusion to Founder's overall offerings. If you want to find out more about what the brewery releases on the regular and some of their retired beers, check out their website and definitely look at their social media for greater information about what will be coming out here in the near future. This has been Settler38, and this was our beer review of Founder's Unraveled IPA.